In this video, let's talk about Spotify. Spotify, wrapping and personalization. Why are we talking about this? Because music is another platform. Spotify personalizes music using a combination of machine learning, collaborative filtering, natural language processing tools, and behavioral analytics. The system continuously learns from user behavior rather than relying only on declared preferences. At the foundation, there are three typical core mechanisms working in Spotify wrapping. 1. Behavioral data tracking. How does Spotify do this? Spotify actually captures listening history of us. Listening history, skip rate. You skipped the song, you didn't like it. Skip rate. Replay frequency. Playlist additions. Are you adding new playlists to your profile? And the time of listening. Are you listening in the morning? Are you listening in the afternoon or late night? Device type, where are you listening? On your mobile or in your car while driving or on the laptop, where are you listening? Finally, different genre transitions. Are you carrying the playlist from your iPhone to your laptop? All these signals help identify the mood pattern and the consumption habits of a customer. For example, if a user frequently plays instrumental jazz on weekday evenings, the system begins associating that time band with a calm preference state. Probably the user is driving back home, right? So a calm preference state is what NLP says. The second one is collaborative filtering. What is collaborative filtering? This technique compares users with similar listening pattern. If user A and user B share 70% similar artists and user B listens to a new indie band, Spotify may immediately recommend that band to user A also. Remember, they share 70% commonalities. This is behavior-based similarity modeling, not demography-based targeting. It is just machine learning information which is coming into Spotify. And who is the end benefit person? The listener, the consumer. Well, a third one is content-based and NLP analysis. Spotify is continuously analyzing certain features. What is it analyzing? It is analyzing audio features. What are you listening to? Are you listening to high tempo music or are you listening to danceability kind of music? Or are you listening to quiet music? What is it that you are listening to? Second, lyric sentiment. What kind of music are you listening to? Genre clustering. Are you listening to Indian classicals or jazz or rock or Bollywood? What are you listening? Are you listening to internet discourses about the artists? Remember the blogs and the reviews and the podcasts that you were talking just now? This helps classify music beyond the labels. For example, there are two songs. Maybe belong to different genres, but they share the same high energy and danceability. Danceability means you can dance to those tunes, allowing mood-based recommendations. How is your mood? Accordingly, the song recommendations start coming on your Spotify. How is Spotify Wrapped executed? That is most important. To channelize data is one and to execute it is different. Spotify Wrapped is not simply a summary of one particular listener. It is data which is telling a story. It is data storytelling campaign. Step 1 in this would be annual data aggregation, right? Spotify aggregates total listening minutes of a particular person throughout the year. What are the top artists that a listener is listening to? What are the top songs that he is listening to? Top genres that he is listening to? Also, is there a particular personality type of music that he is listening to? What does that signify? It signifies an audio aura. For example, some people might love listening only to ghazals. Now that's an aura about that person, the mood-based visualization. This data is processed through predictive clustering models. Now these are all technology at work as to, let us say, if Suparna is listening to one particular type of music throughout the year, the analytical models can predict what is the kind of music that I will like in the coming year too, right? The second point is narrative construction. Now this raw data has to be put into some way, right? So that the listener comes to know Spotify knows what he or she loves. So they create something which is called a shareable story. Or they create something which is like a gamified visual cards. Or they give comparative statements. You are in the top 2% of the listeners for a particular genre of music. They create personality archetypes of the listeners. Remember we were talking about the 7 plots and the 12 archetypes in the beginning of our module? Now this is what Spotify is utilizing. The narrative reframes the data that Spotify is collecting into a personal identity. It moves from, let us say, you listen to 32,000 minutes on Spotify to you are a genre fluid adventurer. Adventurer is the archetype, the personality. Genre fluid, that means you keep moving from one genre of music to the second to the third. Look at the way Spotify brings data to life. It's telling a story about the listener. It also creates visuals and UX, user experience executions on Spotify Wrapped. Let us say it will create a mobile-first interactive story. On your mobile, whenever you're listening, you might get a pop-up from Spotify talking about you or talking with you. It might also create a vertical slide format and give it to you telling, hey, you are in the first 1% of our listeners, and you can put it on your social media. Think about it. They could even create dynamic animations about a particular genre of music. Now from this, you can also find personalized color schemes. Remember, personality is all about color, visualization, liking, soft, creative experiences. Spotify is actually understanding storytelling about your consumption behavior. What are you consuming on Spotify? All these things will lead to social amplification mechanism. What does this mean? It means that they are creating share cards which are downloadable by the user. They are giving you templates which are Instagram ready. They are giving you shareables which is branded by a particular artist that you love to listen to. And you go on to share it on your social media handles. What is happening? This transforms the listeners into micro brand ambassadors. You become a brand ambassador for Spotify. The campaign, user-generated content, UGC content as Gen Z calls it, becomes self-propagating. You start speaking on multiple handles wherever you want to propagate about yourself. Why is Spotify Wrapped so strategically powerful? Remember, this is a strategic marketing decision from Spotify because it transforms consumption into identity. It converts analytics, data points into emotional storytelling. It creates organic virality through social sharing. It reinforces platform stickiness. So we keep going back to Spotify. We keep going back to Spotify and not to the competitor platforms. Spotify Wrapped is not advertising. It is personalized storytelling marketing. It is a narrative. Okay? So see and think about how Spotify is converting analytics to storytelling spine and thereby making us loyal to their platform. Marketing learnings from Spotify demonstrate that data becomes powerful only when we give it a narrative. Otherwise, data is data. Personalization works best when you are able to resonate with the self-image of the listener. Shareability multiplies the campaign ROI without any additional media spend. You don't have to spend anything. You just have to give them downloadable templates as to what they are doing on Spotify, and there you go. Your campaign is ready. Right? Now, for you, I want you to think, is Spotify Wrapped more about retention or is it about acquisition of a new customer? The way you look at it will tell me whether you support personalization of the listener or are you looking into brand loyalty. Very engaging. Let me give you an example. Let's take any one particular music. Let's say Yellow by Coldplay. The world is crazy after Coldplay right now. Okay? So let's take the song Yellow by Coldplay. Coldplay, when you keep listening to Coldplay, what is actually happening? You are creating an emotional bond with the song. This wasn't just a song for you, it was a feeling deep in your heart. So for all you know, let us say you streamed Yellow 89 times. You first played it on Feb 14th, which was a Valentine's Day. And after playing it 89 times, you are in the top 7% of Coldplay listeners globally. Then what is the personalization logic that Spotify Wrap can build? The ranking suddenly creates exclusivity for you. Even in a mass platform like Spotify, the engineers are able to create micro-elite identity through percentile positioning, 7% globally. And you have been just listening to Yellow by Coldplay. But then there comes a pop-up which says you are in the 7% of globally people who are listening to Yellow. So what's happening? Your mood intelligence is captured. Your entire year you lean onto nostalgic music. So what did you play mostly? You played mostly, let us say, a reflective kind of a music. And you were listening to late in the night, 10:18 p.m. So these are all the data points that Spotify is capturing about one particular listener. Thereby it can create that audio aura of that particular listener. Maybe soft, gold colors is what he likes, midnight blue. Spotify derives from this the personality of the person. the tempo of that person, the listening time patterns of that particular person, the genre clustering of that particular person. The platform, Spotify, converts all acoustic signals into one beautiful emotional storytelling and presents it back to the listener. So, what did it do? It starts creating an identity framing of the listener. So, it might come like you are a sentimental stargazer. Your top genre of music is alternative rock. You have discovered 6 new British bands, and your longest listening streak was about 12 consecutive days. Now this data looks like a persona of a person, right? Spotify, what does it do? It assigns this narrative archetypes, personalities, to transform behavior into one particular kind of an identity through storytelling. Thereby, it engages the listener X times more with the platform. Also, it brings in a cultural context layer. How does Spotify bring this cultural context? So it sends out a sentence which says, while the world streamed dance hits, you return to timeless nostalgic anthems. So this is a sentence which is coming from Spotify onto the listener's platform. This subtle comparative positioning enhances self-perception, self-image. And Spotify Wrapped simply validates the taste of music of that particular listener in depth. It is adding story to the data points. So what does it hand over to the listener? Maybe a visually branded card suddenly appears. Official Yellow Devotee 2025. So you have heard Yellow from Coldplay multiple times. 89 times you have streamed the song. Remember, you were listening it late in the night, so night listener. Within one tap share, this card can go to your Instagram handle, can go to your WhatsApp, can go to any social media handle that you want. And the user becomes the distribution channel. So Spotify doesn't have to spend anything. The UGC created automatically becomes the word of the mouth, the music which shares and brings up Spotify. Why does this work so strategically? Because it activates nostalgia. It frames loyalty as prestige. It transforms passive listening into a cultural identity. You are simply listening to songs, isn't it? But now you have got an audio aura and it becomes your cultural identity. It encourages public self-expression through those visual cards that are being sent to you on your mobile. Wrapped succeeds because it converts analytics into affirmation, into a story. What a beautiful example. Storytelling is not just meant only for campaigns, dear friends. We have discussed that storytelling is very important in presentations, in thought leadership, in creating podcasts. And towards the end, I'm speaking about to you how storytelling is even important when you listen to music. Every analytical point, every data point that can be summed up by any platform, if it is put together, collated, and it is converted into a story about that particular person, wow, you have a personality there. And you create a strong storytelling for that particular brand. So Spotify Wrapped has been immensely successful globally to do this only with the help of storytelling squeezed, accentuated into its data point. Till we meet in the next video.